Your soul is always giving you exactly what you need to heal, grow, and expand. And it gives it to you in unique ways, always, that are specific to you and your experience. You can relate to what's being given because it's either something that you already know or something that you've already experienced or something that you remember. And it's always that way in any given moment. Your true self is dependable. Your true self is your true nature, your higher self, your whole self. And you can stop relying so much on your mind. My clock just flipped over and that's 111 on the clock. You don't need to rely on your mind so much to figure things out. Your soul is going to give you everything that you need to know. And you will be guided very specifically. That's what Jesus says, those last words. You will be guided very specifically. Everything you need to know will be given to you. And I'm going to be talking to you today about practical ways that this is happening so that if you're not already, you can begin to be aware of these ways and maybe begin to catch more and more because it is happening all day, every day. So let's see. Yeah, I think I said this already, you don't need to figure anything out. And it's because you can always count on your soul to give you these things. For example, you feel a strong calling to do something. Your soul was putting that on your heart. You feel a strong calling to do something. So you don't know, well, how am I going to do that? I can't do that. You don't need to know the how. You don't need to use your mind to figure out how. You just trust. You want it. You feel it. You feel what it's going to feel like to accomplish that or have that. And then that puts it out, that energy out there, and it comes back to you. Your soul is giving it back to you how it's going to happen. So what we're going to talk about today is allowing this energy to flow in and for you to be aware of it and know that it's always working through you. This energy is always coming to you from your soul, from your higher self, giving you the things that you need, that you are wanting to manifest. Sometimes we're conscious of the things we want to manifest, and sometimes we're not conscious of what we want to manifest. But it's all being given to you, the opportunities. So they're given to you through your physical senses, your body, and or your non-physical senses, your intuition, your clairaudience, your clairsentience, your claircognizance, etc. So what we're going to talk about today is being in this flow, practical ways of how to be in this flow. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was noticing synchronicities. And we all know synchronicities happen, but there's a good chance that synchronicities are happening for you, being dropped in your lap and your experience way more often than you realize. So if I could had time, I could go through all my journals over the past 10 years and have synchronicity after synchronicity that I had noticed. But I'm going to go with the two most recent ones that stand out in my mind, happened about 3 weeks ago. And also intertwined in all of my videos, it's important to read between the lines. And in all my videos, I am giving you examples of how spirit is guiding you. That includes the Holy Spirit, your higher self, the ascended masters, all of the above, high frequency beings in the higher realms are always helping us, giving us this information, our soul, our higher self. So these are two of the ways that this thing that one day happened. 3 weeks ago, I was at work. And at some point during that day, maybe it was before I left to go to work or after I got back that night, but at some point during that day, I was on YouTube, right? And we all try to be very selective of what we're watching on YouTube, or otherwise we'd be just staring at that screen 24/7. So, but this YouTuber came into my feed that I had never seen before, never watched any of her information, but it had an orange cat on her thumbnail of her video, and it just jumped out at me. I mean, a lot of the time that would typically been something I would just scroll by, because I think that at that point I was looking for something specific. But I got pulled right into that cat, and that is a synchronicity. And a lot of times we write it off, right? We're like, okay, just keep going. There's so much up there. But this was pulling me in. It felt like it was standing out. So I stopped for a minute and I watched some of it. And it was an animal communicator. The female YouTuber was an animal communicator, and she had channeled someone's cat, and it was an orange cat. And she talked about how this orange cat was giving her the secrets of the universe. And I listened to some of what the cat brought through, and it was so profound. But so that stood out to me, and that was the name of her video. It was Orange Cat Gives Me the Secrets of the Universe. So, okay, that happened. Then I went to work, and I had a female client that came in. She was in her 90s. So she was an elderly lady, and she was on oxygen. She had the tubes, in her nostrils with the little tube holding it on her face and rolling around this oxygen tank. And she was 90, so, she sounded like an elderly lady. Okay, so that happened. Then that night, I had two dreams. And, well, no. Let me back up. This is 3 weeks ago. I had a dream about an orange cat. I was standing in a room. It was like a 10 by 10, like maybe someone's bedroom, a little 10 by 10 children's room. And there was an orange cat sitting on a piece of furniture in the corner. And it was like in the dream, I was standing there looking at that cat, like waiting for something profound. All right, so that was the dream of the orange cat. And then when I woke up from the dream, I heard clairaudiently, not with my physical ears, but I heard a voice say, I wrote it down. Let me make sure I get it correct. Here it is. I heard the voice say, "Tina, are you here?" But it was said in an old lady's voice, like, "Tina, are you here?" That's what it sounded like in my right ear. So I immediately sat up, got my journal, and began writing about that in my journal. And what I actually wrote, it was like I was spark mentally inspired with this. And I wrote the name Astoria. The name Astoria is the name that I was given for my higher self. I wrote, "Astoria, you are my lifeline, my oxygen." And so that, I wasn't thinking about the client that I'd had earlier at that point when I wrote that in my journal. But that's what I later figured out and talked to I had to stop and plug in my laptop. I had low battery. But yeah, so when I wrote that in my journal, I wasn't putting those pieces together yet that it was related to this client that I talked to earlier with the oxygen tank. It wasn't until after the journaling and everything that I started tuning in with my spirit guides and getting confirmation about what was coming through. That's when they helped me realize, oh, it was going back to that with the lady with the oxygen tank and the elderly female voice. So then I started putting together with confirmation. I ask everything and I get either yes or no or whatever, that the voice, I saw in my journal I wrote, was that voice that I heard clairaudiently, my grandmother that's passed over? I got no. Was that voice that I heard from source getting my attention? And I got choose a new direction or reconsider, which means you're close, but ask again. And so then I asked, was that voice my higher self? And I got a big yes. And then I further went into, okay, what was the significance of the orange cat? Probably, spirit guides are putting that curiosity in my mind to ask that question. So I looked it up to get what the symbolism of an orange cat is. And it said a warm energy, one of independence and trusting my intuition, merged with your higher self and trusting yourself. So all of that came swooping together like that. That those two synchronicities, maybe three, but all of that came in together. That's one of the ways, one of the many ways that you put the pieces together. Because I've said this many times, we need our spirit guides to help us navigate this earth school so that we can heal, grow, and expand. And when I say spirit guides, I'm going to include higher self and soul because, right, in essence, we're all one. That one light, that one source that comes through. All of that, your spirit guides and the ascended masters that are helping you come through, they work through your higher self to get this information to you or to us. So that was the first example I wanted to give of how we can be in the flow, is paying attention to the synchronicities that happen in our life 24/7. The second way we can be in the flow is to nourish our inner child. And I've talked about this on other videos, but we want to begin to really pay attention to the fears and wounding of our inner child. We want to pay attention to the play that our inner child wants to experience and how your inner child wants to create, and allowing the innocence to play and move through you. And this is how we connect into our childlike energy. This is the second way, or a way, that we can be in the flow of what we are being gifted from our soul and our higher self. The third way that I wrote down here is to see every challenge as an opportunity. Every trigger is an opportunity. Every time we have a challenge and we begin to fall into fear, like that time that I had that water leak and my entire bathroom floor was covered in water. That was, that helped. In that moment, I fell into fear. I was like, oh my God, and following that challenge as an opportunity. So for an instant, for a moment, a fleeting moment, I was in fear, jumped in my throat, and I was like, okay, everything happens for me. Just being aware that your challenges, your triggers, is all happening for you. And when you have a trigger and you realize that, okay, this is happening for me, and it's hard, it'll get easier with practice, and that's talked about in other videos. And you are able to drop into some of your deepest wounds as a result of getting that trigger. That trigger comes from your higher self, and it can come from your soul too, right? Because everything is one. Everything is there to help us learn from this earth school. So when it drops in, it's dropping in to help you remove the story from your body and from your experience. The fourth way that we can be in the flow of things is to recognize layers of resistance. And there are many layers, like the largest onion in the world that set the record. That's how many layers of resistance that we have, from old beliefs, things that aren't true. And I have felt, and I think I read it somewhere, that like at least 85% of the beliefs that we have are not true. So I wrote down just a few, because this is actually something that very recently, when I had my Palladian channeled message, private message, this was one of the things that they said, that they encouraged me to move into a greater space where I could release even more layers of resistance. And I thought, okay, well, what more layers can I have? So this morning, while I was doing my yoga, it just started coming in, and it was like a download. Um, and I'm just trying to beginning to put the pieces together of what a download looks like, feels like, sounds like. And it is just pieces of information that all of a sudden just drop right in. So I was doing my yoga, and this just dropped right in about layers of resistance and examples. I wanted some practical examples. And layers of resistance, I'm going to describe here, can be anything that we don't like or appreciate in our experience. It could be the water leak. It could be the way one of my floorboards started squeaking. Just not loving that. If I'm like complaining about that, or man, I wish this wasn't like this. Why does it have to be like this? They shouldn't have let this happen. That's resistance. And it can be anything that we are not allowing in our experience. So it can also look like me not liking the way my hair is that day. And the fact that I've got a tooth missing on this side, and every time I smile, you can see this big gap. That's resistance. If I am actively thinking about that and not liking it, any feeling other than loving it, that's resistance. Let me see if there's anything else. I've got a long list here. I recently have been complaining about how fast my grass grows, and it just started growing, in the spring, a few weeks ago, but I just had it mowed a week ago, and it already needs to be mowed again. So I was complaining about that. That's resistance. So I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is. We need to, and resistance is also the obvious stuff, right? Like not liking the way we feel, pushing it down and not looking at it and feeling it and letting it move through. That's also resistance. But those are pretty obvious. So I've already worked on those. So I was naming the things that are remaining and left over, the residual layers of resistance that I still hold on to. Somebody's supposed to be building me some shelves in my bathroom, and it just keeps getting drug out. And every time I think about it, a part of me is like, man, I wish they would just call me and stop already, stop procrastinating. That's resistance. So I'll move on from that one. But that was number 4. Yeah, because this video is getting pretty long. The 5th way I have written down here of how to be in the flow is this one statement. I might say it twice. Do what the old you would not do. When you do what the old you would not normally do, then you are being in the flow, because you are stepping into a portal. And every portal is an opportunity, a new opening for something new to happen. And so when you make that choice to choose you, protect you, and respect your needs, you are in the flow. You're doing things a new way. You are in the flow. That was number 5. Number 6, being in nature. Just simply being in nature can bring you to a place of being in the flow, because nature just pulls us in, and it helps us to go within and appreciate. It's a magical thing, really. I wish I could give more words to it to describe the effect that it has on anybody, not just me, on everybody. And there are some people who are not conscious of that effect, but at some level, it's still happening within them. Nature is just Mother Earth, and nature is a direct extension of our body in a etheric way, an esoteric way. Okay, so we'll move on from that because the video is dragging out. But so being in nature is number 6. And then I could just go on and on and on, but I wanted to give you a handful of things that you could work with to begin to be in the flow more. Be in the flow. Practice it until you get good at it 24/7. And meditation is one of those things that helps you get there. Meditation helps you be more conscious of ways that you can be in the flow. Being in the flow opens us up to move more deeply into alignment with our soul self. So just this morning, I had this other 2-word phrase drop in my mind or into my experience that I was going to start saying to help me stay focused on the God within. And those 2 words are God inside. So I wanted to offer those, and you can come up with anything that works for you, but I offer this idea. And you need something that's easy and quick, easy to remember, and especially if somebody's talking to you and you suddenly are aware, um, and you want to try and be focused on the God within. You need something quick and simple because they're talking, and if you're like me, I can't listen and think at the same time. So God inside, and that helps me. It's a quick anchor that helps me drop into the awareness that I want to focus on the will of God for my very life through total surrender, no matter what my outer circumstances appear to be. So you can see how God inside is a lot easier to think than all of that. So use that if you want to. But I am feeling very much like I want to offer a healing transmission today. And it's been a while, maybe a week. So get into your comfortable position and say, I am open to receive. And this is going to be an energy transmission that helps you with all of this, helps you to be aware, to be in the flow for all these reasons that I talked about today and more. All these practical ways that we can be in the flow to help us sync with it, sync with that in our 24/7 daily lives that are so crazy busy and so full of information coming at us. So, and the energy healing begins now. Take a few rounds of your long, slow inhales. Pause at the top of each inhale. Feel your mind beginning to slow down, your body beginning to relax. You notice the Any tension in your shoulders, let that go. Relax. Relax the muscles around your eyes. Relax your jaw and let your tongue drop down from the roof of your mouth. Heart focused. Archangel Raphael was sending this emerald green liquid healing light directly to our heart centers. Mother Mary just dropped in. Mother of the heart, Divine Mother. A lot of energy in the heart chakra. And that brings us to the end of this energy transmission. I don't know if anyone else felt it, but that was intense. Those were intense energies coming through. And if you did, drop it in the comments. If you you felt the energies, where you felt the energies, what came to mind. Share with us. We are a community. We're all here to heal some of the same things. So thank you for being here. We see you. We are grateful for you. We honor you. And we trust you. Blessed be.